Let's go to the pad. And let's say we have this upper limit and we have a lower limit. And typically what happens is people cycles go in between these, sometimes the amplitude changes, but there's two scenarios that I want to talk about today. One is the scenario where we rise above the line, and I characterize that as you might see your highs staying the same, but your lows getting higher. It's like raising the floor. And if you don't fall into the trap of looking at what's cognitive dissonance, if you don't fall into the trap of looking at cognitive dissonance as stress and anxiety, you can break through. Now, the challenge is that that's not just a line. It's more like a barrier. And we talked about it before, but in this barrier, you have habits, stories, limiting beliefs, bad experiences, phobias, and you can have a phobia type response for something in business. Somebody could have gotten in over their head. Maybe they had a really bad experience giving a presentation and they never want to speak in front of a group anymore. And that all of those feelings come up. That's like a phobia, same thing. And just more and more habits of thought patterns, of imposter syndrome, thinking, feelings of not being enough. All of that's in this barrier. And so while we may think that crossing that line, once we get above it, it's going to be like this, it's not. It's very much, backfilling, and then we get across. And now the good news is once you get above that line, it's pretty cool sailing up here because you don't have all the memories, the beliefs, you've already passed those. So life up here is different. You don't have the triggers that you do in here. And although this part is hard, getting across the barrier is hard, and I mentioned it's about 3 to 9 months because it is a process and we don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen when you push against those phobias. And if you think about a phobia, if you've ever seen somebody in a phobia, maybe you have, or in a phobia of a phobic type experience, and maybe you have a phobia yourself or have had or seen it. But what's interesting is they close down. It's like the tunnel vision. It's total fear response. Even though it's just a conversation, they may still get there. Short breathing, tightening up, sweaty palms, and all that. And what can happen is everything looks like a threat. If you've ever seen some of these videos or somebody whose life is threatened, they get irrational because everything looks scary to them at that moment.